Hello everyone, my name is Dotis-Georgiou and I'm a developer advocate at InfluxData. And joining me today is Michael Hall.
Hi, I'm the community manager at InfluxData. I'm responsible for our global online and in-person community.
So tell me, Michael, who all makes up the InfluxDB community?
So we've got a really various community. We've got people who are building applications on top of InfluxDB, people who are building out IoT infrastructure where they've got a bunch of sensors collecting data and they want to get that data up into the cloud. Or maybe they've got a fleet of web services deployed out on Kubernetes and they want to monitor the health of all these services. We even have people who are just using it at home for hobby projects. They're monitoring their greenhouse or their home energy usage. So there's so many different use cases that are going on in the community. And people come, they join because they want to get help from other people who are building out similar solutions, or they want to talk to some of our own staff and engineers, or they'd want to just share their expertise. They're building something interesting. They want to find somebody who's building something similar and collaborate on that. And they want to build up those relationships and find that sense of belonging with other people who are in the same space that they are. And we've got people who are, they're in college, they're finishing up their senior year, and their project is using InfluxDB, so they're still pretty new to it. And then we've got people who have been in this industry for decades, even to the point where they have retired, and now they're using these professional skills they've developed to build those hobby projects at home. So they come to the community. There's a lot of people who come in to chat, people who are coming to ask questions. A lot of our community are answering questions also.
Yeah, speaking of retirees, that reminds me of one user in specific who was a retired aerospace engineer who's now using InfluxDB so that he can live off grid and live completely sustainably in some beautiful location, I'm assuming. And it also reminds me of another user that I talked to who was using InfluxDB to monitor all these falcons and endangered birds and track their migration patterns. And so, yeah, learning just about all the different use cases is probably one of my favorite parts of my job. And just you encounter all these different use cases that you couldn't even think of.
Exactly. We've got 25,000 people who've been in our community, and we're a pretty small company. We're less than 200 people still. So there's orders of magnitude more knowledge and experience out there in our community than we can give ourselves. So having those people there, talking to other users and sharing that experience is really a huge benefit.
Yeah, it's pretty special. So what is the role of the community at InfluxData?
The main thing our community does is that they support each other. Again, they've got so much knowledge and experience that we don't have that they can provide support that we don't have. We'll help, as much as we can. We know the tools, so we can help with those. Or like you and I, we can connect people to the engineers who are developing those tools. But community supporting community is the biggest thing. They also give us insights. You mentioned some of these use cases that we'd never even thought of when we were building InfluxDB. They can say, hey, I'm using it for this, and then they could give us feedback on what works and what doesn't work in that use case. And we can take that feedback and we can use that to make the product better. And then as we build those features, as we've got a beta version of it ready, we can let them test those features before they go out to the rest of our users. And so we can get that really quick feedback from the people who are going to be consuming that and make sure that we're adequately fulfilling their needs.
And so if you're interested in giving product feedback like that, where do you go?
Some of the best places are just joining our Slack, finding us or finding one of our engineers. You can provide feedback through GitHub issues also, so you can report bugs or you can make feature requests there. We also like to have just one-on-one calls with people. When you've got an interesting use case and there's a lot of information that we need to get from you, we'll just jump on a Zoom call with you. Our engineers and our engineering managers will get on a call with you and just talk to you back and forth for an hour, which is a really nice connection for people to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the relationship that builds there because the user gets an opportunity to give that product feedback and feel seen and heard with regards to all the issues that they're facing, but also what worked. And then the engineer actually gets to meet the people that are using their product. And I think that relationship is so special because everyone gets to feel like their work is being both valued and appreciated. So.
Yeah. And because we are open source projects, you don't have to wait for us to develop these features either. You can contribute code directly to the database, to Telegraph. Telegraph has got 300 different plugins now, and a bunch of them, most of them I think, are being contributed by the community. So you can make those changes directly.
There's even the external Telegraph plugins too, which are made with the execd plugins, and those are extensible in any language. So you can contribute those as well. And so if you are really comfortable with Python and you want to collect data from a particular source, you can do it like that. And those are a really cool list of Telegraph plugins worth investigating as well. And those are even easier to contribute. So.
Exactly. So like you can build these products along with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do developer advocates support the community?
We act as like a direct line of communication between users in the community and people inside InfluxData. So, when people come in asking questions, a lot of the times we'll know the answer and we can, answer that directly. I know you know a lot of Flux, and so you can help people out there. But sometimes, it's gone beyond our level of expertise, and that's when we can connect them to people who have those answers. Either they're building it or they've, been through this before and know how to answer people. We also write a bunch of documentation and blog posts. We'll track the questions that are coming from the community. And when we see that there's maybe a topic that's caused some confusion or something, we'll target that for a new blog or some new documentation. We also do InfluxDB University courses. And InfluxDB University is a great place for people of all different skill levels. We've got video and written content there for like intro to InfluxDB all the way up to advanced Flux features. So you can go and you can learn these skills there. And when you pass those courses, you actually get a LinkedIn badge that'll show up on your profile. So you can show your peers or you can show like potential future employers that you've mastered these skills around InfluxDB.
Yeah, so you get all the bragging rights. And also, I link these blogs and these tutorials and these courses on the forums when people have questions. And I think sometimes when you see someone link something, you say, oh, you're just having me read the docs. But no, these were completely tailored and built based off of the exact questions that we get from communities. So they really do address those questions specifically that you have. And that's like where we gain inspiration for all this content.
Exactly. And one of my favorite things that we do is just connecting people in the community. As I talk to somebody and I learn that they're working on something specific, like maybe they're working on some industrial furnace in a factory. Like, outside of our wheelhouse, you and I, we've never worked with an industrial furnace. But when I find out that they're working on that, I say, hey, I was talking to somebody last week who's also working on these industrial furnaces. Let's connect you two together so you can share your experiences, you can help each other out, and you can both build better solutions that way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many times when I'm in the forums or on Slack and someone asks a question and I need help. I need them to clarify their pain point because I still don't really understand the context. And then other people chime in with the same exact problem and they're like, I think it might be this thing, but really they're experiencing the exact same pain. And then just by bringing these two people together, they eventually end up solving their own problems because they start sharing what they tried, what worked, what didn't work. And then maybe I can kind of direct them a little bit towards some resources they're not aware of or bring in another engineer, but largely they just help each other. And that's always a cool thing to see too.
Yeah, and that's what community is all about. It's about making those connections with other people.
Yeah, 100%. So how does the community influence InfluxDB in return?
The biggest way the community influences us is giving us feedback, telling us what our product's doing well or not doing well, where it's not able to fulfill their specific use case, and what specifically they need it to do so that it can fulfill that use case. Developer advocacy is a two-way street. We write a lot, we give a lot of information back to the community, but we also take all of that feedback and those questions from them, and we feed that back into our product and engineering teams. And we say, hey, this is what people need, this is why they need it, this is how they're suggesting we implement it. And that gets used to develop and prioritize our features. And then once we start developing those features, testing those and giving us feedback on how is that implementation going? Is it right? Is it fulfilling your use case? Did we make some assumptions that were wrong and we need to go back and revisit it? That kind of thing. Another great way for people to give back is to write articles for us. We absolutely love getting blog posts, guest blog posts from people who are building something on InfluxDB, and we'll publish those up on our website. So if anybody's got a content idea or a project they're working on and they want to share that to a wider audience, please find an IEs for myself on our Slack and say, hey, I want to write about this. Can we make that happen? And absolutely, we'll get that up there.
Yeah, and if you don't have experience writing blogs, we can either walk you through the process of doing it or even ghostwrite one for you. And you don't even have to necessarily share your code if you don't feel comfortable. You can just talk about your project on an abstract sense or a large scale, and also share what resources helped you achieve your goals and solve your problems. I think those are super valuable to people too, who are just like, is someone else with the same problem using InfluxDB and did they find success? So even those those type of contributions are great too. And as far as making feature requests, you mentioned that earlier, we make feature requests all the time based off of community input and community questions. And so I also encourage you, if you are looking for a specific feature, to ask us about it. We can find that feature request, and I encourage you to comment on it as well and share your experience, just so that we can help prioritize those features and what gets pushed more quickly. Yeah. So how can people get involved in the community?
So we've got 3 big platforms that we use. GitHub is where all of our open source code is. That's where we take bug reports and feature requests. That's also where people can contribute code patches or to our documentation. After that, our Slack is our best place for like live conversations. We've got thousands of people there, both inside and outside of InfluxData, that you can have conversations with. And then use our community forums for asking questions and answering people there. Because the Slack, after about a month or so, those conversations get really hard to find. Whereas if you ask a question or submit an answer to the forums, that's going to be there forever, and that's going to help other people. And in fact, we have a support portal also that pulls data from our documentation, from our website, but also our community forums. So any answer you give to the community forums is going to go help a bunch of other people further on down the line. Whenever you're involved in our community, just be kind, be respectful, be helpful. We've got a very supportive, very positive community, and we work really, really hard to keep it that way. And just jump in and start talking to other people. I always say, be curious, ask questions, talk to them, find out more of what they're building, share your experiences and things like that. So just strike up those conversations, make those connections with other people. And then use those resources to give us feedback. Like we mentioned earlier, people can find us there in the Slack and just tell us, this is what's not working right for me. Can we work with your engineers to make that better?
Yeah, and I encourage you to be brave too. I think we talked about this earlier, but if you know an answer to a question on the forums or in Slack, go ahead and try and answer it. Worst comes to worst, you have the wrong answer. That happens to me all the time. Someone will come in and we'll find the right answer. And through learning what the wrong answer is, we also learn where we need to improve our documentation or where we need to expand knowledge about a certain topic. So anything you contribute, any way that you engage is going to be super helpful. And if you haven't ever tried to answer a question on a forum or a Slack channel before, I challenge you to make InfluxDB forums your first go.
Exactly. It's like anybody who's talked to me online knows that I'll answer a question and then I'll immediately follow it up with, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Let's talk to so-and-so, and I'll tag in an engineer or a product manager who I know is like an expert in that. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask. Just don't wait for permission. If you think you know the answer, give the answer.
And also, I just wanted to give a quick little plug for the docs too. On any docs page that you visit, there is a banner where you can give feedback, and the docs team is actively incorporating all of that feedback to make their docs better. So if you found a docs page helpful, let them know. If you think something is missing, if you want more examples, also let them know, and they'd really appreciate that input.
Yeah. And lastly, promote other people's work. When you see somebody who's written a blog somewhere or they've posted their code up on GitHub or something and you think it's cool, promote that out there. Like I said, we're a very positive, we're a very supportive community, and part of that is just building people up.
Yeah, share the love.
Exactly.
So what resources are available for community members?
Our GitHub, like I said, that's where all our open source code is. It's github.com/InfluxData. We also have a separate organization in GitHub that's /InfluxCommunity. And this is a space for community originated code. So stuff that's not coming from InfluxData, but coming from our users building something around InfluxData. So they can contribute code there, makes it easier for people to discover. We've got somebody who's submitted an entire configuration of Telegraph, the Mosquito MQTT broker, and InfluxData, and all of the configuration files necessary to deploy those together. So that kind of project that they just want to share with the rest of the community is great to host there. Our Slack, which they can get to at influxdata.com/Slack, it's an open one, so anybody can join that. Our community forums, which I've talked about extensively, that's community.influxdata.com. If you're a Redditor, we do have a subreddit. It's /r/InfluxDB. So post interesting stuff there, answer questions as you can there. We've also got a lot of our documentation that's available to contribute back to. We've got our book, awesome.influxdata.com. And all of that code is hosted on GitHub, as well as all of our documentation is all on GitHub. So anybody who wants to write a how-to guide or fix some documentation or expand on a section, they can do that with just a pull request into GitHub. And then InfluxDB University that we talked about earlier. Take those training courses, get those badges, put them on your LinkedIn profile.
And it's all free. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Yes, it is all free.
Yeah. Oh, the meetups too is another great resource.
Yeah, we do have this global network of time series meetups that we support. These were super active before the pandemic. When everything shut down and you couldn't meet up in person, those kind of slowed down, but we're bringing those back. So find a meetup in your area, attend it. If you have something you want to present there, we're always looking for speakers at these events. And we support those meetups and other open source or time series meetups also. So if you've got a topic about time series or InfluxDB that you're doing in your own meetup, get in touch with us. Let us know. We're happy to sponsor drinks or snacks or something for those events, or try and hook you up with a speaker to talk about InfluxData or InfluxDB.
Yeah, or adjacent projects that incorporate InfluxDB, but also something else. Just a great opportunity to network, meet other people, and get help in person.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Michael. And just to wrap things up, if you want to come and find me, go to the forums. That's usually where I hang out. And Michael, where do you like to hang out?
I'm usually on the Slack just about any time. Also keep an eye out for our colleagues, Jay and Zoe, who are also in the Slack and on the forums. We look forward to seeing you all out there.
See you there.